Real-time information on things you need to know. WNOV, The Voice, 860 AM, 106.5 FM.
Real-time information. I like that. Too bad I got nothing to talk about today. But I like the little lead in. Good morning. What's happening, family? Welcome to the show this morning. It is Michelle Bryant. You're listening to Say Something Real. Couldn't get it out. Here at WNOV 860 AM, 106.5 FM. What up, family? What's happening, Debo? How you doing this morning?
I'm great. I am blessed to be in the land of the living. Certainly, that's it. Harvey said, leave it at that. Okay. So I shall leave it at that.
When you start listening to Carvey.
When he started threatening me, man, I mean, gotta be careful about what I wear. Wear that again, it's on, and So,
he had a long John shirt on yesterday, but ain't nobody scared of Carvey.
Wow, did he really? I heard you talking about the long John
t-shirt. He had a
t-shirt.
black long John shirt yesterday.
No wonder he wasn't. No wonder he wasn't talking about it. It's cold in here. He didn't say a word.
It was 89 degrees outside.
Clearly, he's not watching the weather before he even leave home.
Yeah, it was the closest thing to me. Carvey said, "Did he get a good morning?"
Oh, he just wants to leave it at that.
Good morning, Carvey. He better be glad he cute. Said, I get a good morning. I'm just saying, fam. Don't be scared of Carvey. Everybody think about Carvey. I here putting down threats. I'm coming for you because you talking about my mama.
I didn't say nothing about see.
I see. You didn't have to say nothing. You could have just let me say it. You could have just let me alone.
Oh.
None of y'all skilled.
So Michelle,
none of y'all are skilled.
Michelle knows that I am.
None of y'all.
I aspire. I enjoy. I love to cook, and I had a cousin who was a chef, and he was really big on marinating his meat, his ribs, and everything. It was like a 2-day process for him. Okay. So the other cousin, I used to like to barbecue with him, man. He wants to marinate everything for 2 days. He got to marinate. So I guess there are those that are offended by marination.
Okay. I just want you to know how random.
How random that
sounds real random.
We were talking about never mind.
Don't even. I told you, leave it alone, man. Y'all ridiculous. I told you. It just sound all random. You got people drinking their coffee.
There is a backstory, which I'm not going to tell.
What you got the Kamala Harris look just in? Like, what is this?
Well, like this, man.
That's the look.
Yeah.
You're right. I gotta say that one because that's a implied certain kind of vibe that Kamala had given off. Vice President Harris had given off. Let me just say, a lot to get to this morning, and
I don't think Carvey got his good morning though.
He did get a good morning. He stopped me.
Oh,
he mid Long John comment. He stopped me to say, "Can I even get a good morning first before you start your
rant?
Foolisity, the rant, But let me say this. A lot to get to this morning. Man, when I tell you, I cannot believe I still got this cold. Like this feel like long. Well, let me say that because these people got it for real. I was gonna say it feel like long COVID, but these people got it for real that it ain't no joke. So I ain't gonna say that. But I can't. This is the longest I've ever had a cold in my life. But a couple of things that last night. When I tell you tossing, turning, couldn't really sleep. Was in bed, but not sleep. 2:00 in the morning. Have not been to sleep. Because a lot's going on. And mind just racing, some of it stuff that's going on in my own life, but just work related stuff, nothing crazy. But also, just paying attention to the world around us. So yesterday, when I tell y'all, number one, I was floored when the story broke about what had happened over in Lebanon, and that people who were carrying pagers started to have their pagers, old school spiders. Over here, I was telling you used to do pagers, old school pagers. There are people that still carry those. Evidently, I didn't know this was a thing, and that over in Lebanon, pagers started exploding while they were on individuals.
Mm.
There are now dozens of videos that show people doing everything like being at the food market, you know, literally standing there picking out fresh fruit. Um, Folks standing there holding the hand of a child in community, typical activities, routines, just going about their day. And all of a sudden, their pagers started exploding. So people lost body parts. They lost their hand, they lost fingers. Um, 12 people were killed, at least that we know of so far, including an 8-year-old little girl. 2,800 people were wounded. And people believe that Israel is behind this.
So there's technology that they
So
can
what
make it
they said
explode.
is that knowing that people in some of these countries still use pagers and certain groups, particularly militant groups, they communicate that way. Israel is said they have not come out and denied or confirmed that it was them. They've been quiet. But Israel is alleged to have purchased several thousand pagers and outfitted them with a device that they could trigger remotely that would act like a bomb.
Mm.
And then they put these pagers back out on the market. And then groups bought them, made it available to people. They bought them. And so they just kind of laid back in the cut for whenever they might need it to trigger them. Again, this was supposed to be a targeted attack at militant groups. Hezbollah is the group, and in looking at the stories that CNN had, they said that they had learned that the attack was a joint operation between Israel's intelligence service, Mossad, and the Israeli military. Israel has refused to comment publicly on the explosions. So, just for a moment, see this whole how we respond at all cost. That first of all, how many of us are thinking about that the cell phone in our hand, or for the folks in the States that still wear um, a pager, uh, that somebody could use that to create a situation where they could trigger a bomb. Like, just think about that first of all. As you know, we often talk about, things around us. We can be conspiracy theorists. These gas stations could be used as a bomb. If in time of war, this could happen. This could happen. Your pager. Who was thinking about? But they said that Hezbollah had been telling their people fall back on technology in terms of your equipment. You need to fall back on that. But who would be thinking that somebody has bought up pagers, rigged them to be a bomb, and then put them back out on the market? But also that someone would decide, okay, on Tuesday at 12:07 Central Time, we gonna trigger it and make all of the pagers that we bought, the 2,000-3,000 pagers that we bought, blow up at the same time. Y'all. So no consideration for where these people might be when the bombs go off. who might get harmed or injured because we're trying to go after the militant group. It's reminiscent of the 40,000 plus people that, people believe may be innocent bystanders connected to what's going on with the Palestinians right now. But this indiscriminate, get our enemy at all cost, other lives be damned. An 8-year-old child is deceased this morning. I don't know if the 12 people that were killed, if any of them were the militants or, people standing next to the militants. The pager is sitting on the dresser. The pager is sitting on the kitchen table. The pager, I don't know. But the idea that this attack, and they said that the Israeli government and the Israeli military, they bought these pagers months ago. And this is coming from a source, from a Lebanese source. The devices detonated simultaneously after receiving a message. Israel planted the explosives next to the battery in each pager, as well as a detonation switch. This is what's being reported out of the New York Times, citing U.S. and other officials. So now, people looking at the U.S. like, did y'all know this? What, were you apprised that this was potentially a strategy? So Anthony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, said that there have been obviously, little success in getting a ceasefire in Gaza. And it's come down to a question of what he called political will. But they were frustrated because they said, no, we didn't know that this was a thing. We didn't know that they were going to do anything like this. Still don't have any real indication that there's going to be a road pathway to a ceasefire. But how do you justify this, man? See, this is the stuff that makes people start looking at Israel sideways if you care about fairness, if you care about all human life. How irresponsible is it to plant all these devices and then decide we're going to simultaneously send a message to blow these pagers up without regard for where these people may be that you're targeting when you blow it up? And then people be like, well, that's the cost of doing business. We have casualties of war every day. But this is so indiscriminate that an 8-year-old child that has nothing to do with any of this loses their life. The 2,800 other people, again, no one knows for sure how many of those people may be connected to this militant group. I was standing next to the person. I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. This by any means necessary strategy that Benjamin Netanyahu and his allies insist on believing is the way to execute this war only creates more militants. These people are not going to go away. You are not going to wipe them off the face of the earth. As long as there is an individual with a memory, as long as there's someone that can tell the story to someone else, there will be other people that will step up to continue this war. There has to be every effort made for not only a two-state solution, but also to bring peace in the region to the extent possible. Now, I'm not going to tell you that there are not people that despise Jews and want to see the end of Israel. I'm not saying that, because of course there are. But everybody involved in this situation has got to be able to figure out this is a no-win for either side. You might prolong the next military attack, but it's coming. This is a no-win. Just think about, we standing in Starbucks. I got a pager on, and these people just indiscriminately decide, bam, hit the switch, send a message, and blow up Michelle. And I'm taking out everybody around Michelle as I'm handing the cashier my money on my card. Just think about that. Like, that's the most irresponsible, ignorant mess I have seen. Because they didn't care. But you want people to care about what happens to Jews and to the Israelis caught up in this whole conflict. But you don't demonstrate that same level of care for the lives of other people. They didn't care. You can't make me accept this. And this is the part that people don't understand. That's why they have this thing called rules of engagement. There is a way you execute wars. There is a way that is supposed to factor in humanity, that you go after fighting your enemy. What Israel did in this situation was trifling. It was irresponsible. It was indiscriminate. And innocent people got hurt. Statistically, the odds definitely will say that. If you look at the videos of people standing next to other folks when those pagers detonated, people just buying fruit at the market. And then you see people falling and bodies covered up. So that folks have already said, oh, we gonna retaliate. We coming for you. Rest assured, there will be a response to this. I don't know what it takes. How many people gotta die before folks sit down and just stop being, greedy and selfish and act like it's my way or the highway. Nobody else can get anything. You can only get what I'm allowing you to get. And that's on both sides of this conversation. This has the ability to spill over into other governments being pulled in. We already know that. We already know it. But the one thing that somebody ought to just flag for Israel is everybody is not going to just ride with y'all on this. Eventually, the pushback will come from around the world because you can't keep justifying this. I just looked at another report that said another child was killed in this pager bombing on Tuesday. In one of the cases, the child was playing with the pager. Because, you put your cell phone down, your child pick it up. So, it was one of those things that it just bothered me yesterday. The FBI, people have talked about how this was a massive intelligence breach. How did people miss this? You have to have enough intelligence in advance to know that Hezbollah is making a purchase of hundreds of thousands of pagers, and you have to be able to target it. So that indicates just a massive intelligence breach of Hezbollah's operation. So, the FBI is like, Hezbollah, y'all need to step up y'all game, because somebody knew y'all was getting ready to buy all these pagers, and somebody told it, leaked it, or Israel found out in some way. And so I get you. But I'm going to say it again. Just the idea that we get the pagers and we blow them up and it doesn't matter where you are when we set the device off, that's some BS to me. You can't make me believe that's how it's supposed to go. So I got to take a break. But whoever is the next U.S. president,
That's crazy, Michelle. That's like sending out an Amber Alert and poof.
Yeah, because the message came and people looked down. And again, while they will say it was targeted to the people who purchased the pagers, we knew they were being purchased by militant groups. It does not matter because you don't know where those pagers were when you set them off. So I just can't agree with this strategy in terms of going after your enemies. I don't agree with it. Let me take a break. Michelle Bryant, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. Be right back. for just a moment. Um, Again, I said stories that would just irritate me yesterday, things that, I was just paying attention to. So the level of, crime, um, senseless stuff that's happening. I'm driving yesterday and well, actually let me even go back a week before I left to go to DC. There was somebody on King Drive who had rented a U-Haul truck and they ran intentionally every single red light because sometimes you catch that and you catch every red light or you have a great day and you catch all green and you just roll. Well, this day it was every red light. It was the day before I left to go to DC, and I'm just watching this person. I couldn't tell if it was a male or female, but like we would get to a light and there were already 2 or 3 cars in front of me at the light that had gotten stopped. This dude would pull up on the side of them in a U-Haul and I guess look both ways and decide whatever and run the light. And he kept doing it, or he or she kept doing it all the way down King Drive. Like when I tell you I was about to bust a vein because I could never get close enough to get a plate. And I know the Milwaukee Police Department is sick of me because I call all the time when I see people out of pocket. And so you just think about like the dumb stuff, unnecessary stuff that people do. And it's like, so, but what if you hit somebody, man? You cause damage to somebody else's car. I saw a woman sitting when I came to work yesterday. It was a woman when I came back to work in the afternoon, an elderly woman sitting in the middle of the street over here on Fond du Lac. They done got in a car accident. And I'm like, why they not moving these cars? And then I see there's a woman that they have gotten out of the car and sat her down on the ground. I don't know how badly she was injured. But you just realize how much of this stuff is just unnecessary. Like, you don't have to live like this. And so the story about the two young brothers who earlier this year, they were both 17 at the time, Amir MacArthur, Keyshawn McNeely, they decide that they're going to order a pizza from Domino's. And a brother, 33-year-old brother, hustling, trying to make some additional money, taking care of himself, his family, whatever he doing with this part-time gig. Anton G. Jr., 33 years old, is the delivery man. And these two knuckleheads, along with another partner, Damon Patrick, they decide that they're robbing this dude. This whole thing was a setup. So the delivery driver gets to the location and this happens, I'm trying to figure January 10th. I was looking for when it happened. So the delivery driver gets to the location and the two young guys 17-year-olds are talking to him. Damon, I guess it kind of falls back, is watching the whole thing. And at some point they say, this brother's killed. So Milwaukee police, and I'm taking the story from the Journal Sentinel, Milwaukee police discovered G dead shortly after 10 p.m. on January 10th in the 4400 block of North Sherman Boulevard. So I'm like, this down the street from my old house. Like, this is my neighborhood that I lived in for years. Proud to live in Sherman Park. 4400 block of North Sherman Boulevard. So this right off Capitol in Sherman on the other side. G suffered 3 gunshot wounds, according to the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office. A witness told investigators she heard multiple gunshots, looked out her window, and saw 3 younger males running from the area, according to the police complaint. She also saw a person lying in the median of the street, and she called the police. Surveillance footage captured from a resident showed G interacting with the 2 people while a third person remained several feet away. Struggle ensued. Hang on. A struggle ensued with two people, and the third person ran away. 2 shots were fired. The documents say the third person returned and charged that G at the delivery driver. At that point, 2 additional gunshots were heard, then a 5th and a 6th shot. The video later showed the 3 males running away, leaving G in the Sherman Boulevard median. So one of the guys, the 18-year-old Damien, he pled guilty basically right away. Okay. And he pled guilty earlier this month to felony murder. He's going to be sentenced on November 1st. The other 2 teens, Amir MacArthur and Keyshawn McNeely, they initially were not pleading guilty. And, you know, I don't know why they were not pleading guilty. But at some point, you know, either something got to them. And so now they have pled guilty, changed their plea, and they will be sentenced later in November as well. But all I kept thinking was how senseless it all was and is. That there are now 4 people who have lost their lives, basically. Because while Mr. G is deceased and everything that meant for his family, the people that loved him, the folks that cared about him, these 3 young brothers who are literally at just the beginning of life, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. You cats is all about to go sit down and basically die in jail. It's a wrap for most of y'all. And over what? Like, how much money did you think you were going to get from a Domino's pizza delivery guy? Like, that's the other part of it. I tell people all the time, if I get in trouble, man, what I'm doing is on a whole different scale. I'm not losing everything and killing nobody for Domino's pizza delivery money. What kind of bread you think these people walking around with? Most people today pay with a card. I ordered pizza last night from Toppers. Pay with my card. The only thing that young woman got when she came to my door was me signing my receipt for a tip. End the story, you idiots. The majority of people don't even pay with cash no more. But you 17 and you young and you dumb and you about to pay for it for the rest of your life. Somebody just sent me something that said the stabbing on 38th in Congress, also teenagers beating the teenagers beat the elderly man on the South Side. Yeah, First and National. It's like, come on, y'all. Like, so that's 3 brothers now pulled out of circulation, pulled out of community, pulled out of being an asset, pulled out of contributing, pulled out of voting, pulled out of everything for Domino's delivery pizza money, which I'm telling you right now, it couldn't have been no real money. And every day that they sit in jail, they're going to think about what, like, of course, you're going to get that education about how stupid all this was. The ability to take these moments and grab our kids and our children and our youth to the side and say, sit down with me and read this story to me. Like, because I got knuckleheads in my family. And this is one of the moments I would be like, read the story. I need you to read that. And what I'm doing right now on the radio is what I'm doing with them knuckleheads. So process that for me. So at the end of the day, the age-old question, was it worth it? If you out here in the streets doing dumb stuff, do you ever think about the day after? The 5 years later? Do you ever think about it? And this is why when we talk about, people old enough to understand and old enough to know better. And this is when you understand mentally these people are not developed fully. And so while they're making decisions, they're not making rational decisions. They're doing stupid stuff. And I'm not saying that they're full-grown adults that don't do stupid stuff. But it's a wrap. You 18 years old and your life is now over. You are relegated to a box. I don't know how big them cells are, but you are now, that's it. Whatever was the struggle, whatever you was going through, whatever seemed so bad at the moment that you needed to be a part of a robbery attempt of a pizza delivery man. You ain't robbing the stove. You're robbing a driver. It's a wrap. We got to have these conversations. We got to have them. And we got to have them young. We got to impress upon these people that there are other ways to come up. That's why when I see these young boys out in the streets selling water for $1, even if I don't want it, even if I'm not thirsty, I buy it anyway. Because I am so glad that they're not making these choices. That somebody said, go get a $6 case of water. You can flip it and turn it into $30 or $40, depending on how many bottles is in that pack. So when I ride down Capitol and I ride down Fond du Lac and them young brothers and sisters is out there selling water or Gatorade, I buy it every single time. Or I just say, you know what, fam, I don't need no water right now. I'm good. But here go $2 and, and stay positive. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Because you could be making different choices. And so people don't understand, like, why them kids ain't even got no business out there selling no water like that. It's illegal. Hey. If they doing that, they mean they not doing this mess over here. If they still understand the value of hustling and getting out here and working and trying to figure out a way to make that dollar out of nothing, then I can get behind that. I can support that. But I literally have had people be riding with me and like, man, you be buying that water from people? I do. Same thing I said about giving change sometimes. I do. Because you could be hitting somebody in the head and taking that. That dollar purchased today might have saved that Domino's delivery man's life. And then the other aspect of it, which is what came up yesterday. So does Domino's keep delivering to our community? Do we take a chance? Does a business owner take a chance and a liability? Because the convenience of by the time I get in and I got people at home that need to eat and I'm not there, I can just order a pizza, have it sent to the house so that they can open the door and get the pizza and go on and be okay. That's convenience for me. But you lose those conveniences when you got this dumb stuff happening. So the number of times you will call a place and they'll be like, we don't deliver in your area. Why not? Y'all right up the street. No, we don't deliver in your area. Because the business owners have taken a calculated risk to say that, you know what? It ain't worth it. Yeah, I'm going to miss that money. But y'all going to have to come in here and come get this product, whatever it is. We don't understand the unintended consequences of not doing what we got to do with these young people. We don't understand it. We don't appreciate it. Somebody said, exactly. My nephew was doing it and I would help him buy water. He is being productive and out of trouble. Somebody else said, good morning. This is reminiscent of the father involved in the robbery through the drive-thru of the Burger King on Capitol and Fond du Lac, which resulted in the death of the father's daughter and the permanent closure of the Burger King. And think about that. Because, I mean, I wasn't no Burger King fan. But if you wanted somewhere to go late night and grab you something to eat, you go right here on 50-something Capitol and get you something to eat. It's closed now. We shoot ourselves in the foot. The unintended consequences of when we turn a collective eye away from what we see. So the significance and the importance of finding stuff for these people to do and getting them, you know what they say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Giving these people something to do, I keep you engaged. My son used to get sick of me because he always had something to do. And then he was the kind of young brother who on his own wanted stuff to do. That stuff was bothering me yesterday because it's so cyclical. One thing is like dominoes. One thing affects another thing, and everything falls down around us. And then we look around in our communities, in our neighborhood, and all we got is beauty supply stores and JJ chickens and crap. You don't have no place decent to go sit down and eat half the time. You don't have no place decent to shop. I got to go to the suburbs to get anything I want. People tell you they don't want to go to the grocery stores in your neighborhood. Then I got cats standing at the stores talking about I need to see your receipt coming out of Pick and Save. You need to see my receipt coming out of Pick and Save. But it wasn't always like that. So how do we get here? And the bigger question, how do we stop this? How do we stop it? And this is a moment when I think about Lena, when she sat on the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee. You can't jail your way out of this situation. There are not enough mandatory minimum sentences that you can give to jail your way out of what we see happening around us right now. This is a state of mind. This is a change in the way we fundamentally think about the world and do business and engage as people. This is not something that you can necessarily legislate your way out of in terms of increased criminal penalties. Just like when I call the police and say, hey, they doing mobile drugs over here on this street. Senior citizens will call and be like, Michelle, I can't even go to my mailbox because these people out here selling drugs. And they got all these, I'm just saying the way the elderly people said to me, they got all these white folks meeting them over here on my block and then getting out serving everybody. Or riding up and you know, through the window, everybody doing transactions. I'm looking at it every day. Work trucks, all kinds of stuff going on. So I call the police because that's my job, working in the Senate, you know, to help these constituents. And the police is like, look, we'll come and we'll monitor and we'll increase the presence over there. But understand this. All we doing is pushing it to another block. And so on one hand, you like, well, at least it ain't mine. And at least my mama or this senior citizen can go outside and move around the way they need to. But the reality is, if I care about the entire community, I just made life miserable for somebody else. So now I got to pick, because that's what it feels like. I got to pick. Does my constituents, does my neighbor, am I okay? Even though I know the police is right, I just moved the problem off of 43rd and pushed it over to 40th, which is still a part of my community. I pushed it over to 38th. It's still a part of my community. So how do I push it completely out of my community? That's why when you have these broad conversations like with Milwaukee County and the Office of Equity, and people start talking about all of the determinants that get us to a place of poverty or, bad health in the case of the county and the conversations they're having. But there are all these things that play into it. So if our education system is raggedy or not properly serving everybody, if housing is so expensive that you got people living in dilapidated, crazy circumstances, spending all of their money on rent and can't afford any of the other ancillary things that's supposed to make somebody's life decent or better. If I don't have good health coverage, the conversation I just had with Mayor Johnson the other day, I can't go and get my high blood pressure under control. I can't go and deal with this diabetes. I can't go and get basic care. If you got all these things falling down around you, and then there are not jobs sufficient enough for the community, and then the bus lines are being cut every day. I was just reading something somebody sent me talking about, people like scamming and not paying the bus fare, just getting on the bus. And how, whether or not bus drivers even have the ability to engage these people because we went to this different system. So the accountability is off. People figured out the loophole, and there are people taking advantage of it.
My cousin, as an executive, they actually will just let you get on. They're told not to argue with them,
because people could lose their life.
Yeah, just let them on. Just let them ride.
So how do we make money though? How is that a sustainable system?
It's not. But I mean, for that one and the possible outcome of what saying no to him may happen, just let him ride.
I mean, and that's the thing. On some level, some of this becomes convenient because I don't have to worry about cash. I can load my card, and someone said, I will donate a case to the next child I see hustling out here. Thanks, Michelle. Man, that's amazing. Thank you. That's amazing. But
I watch those kids out here on this island all summer. They would go over there to get the ice, or they'd go over there and they work between Atkinson and here. But they truly were hustling. Yeah, I mean, and when you look at the potential profitability of selling water on the island, it's not bad.
I mean, it really isn't. Like I said, because some of them cases, $36.40 in a pack,
mm-hmm.
And if I'm getting that for like $5-6,
right?
I done made me $35 off that case of water.
Yeah,
and $35, that's 3 hours on a minimum wage job.
Yeah,
really, that's 4 hours on a minimum wage job.
They're learning profit margin and investment and return on profit.
And I'm not losing taxes.
But I mean, they're learning at the same time. Those could be your potential. I mean, I think back to a guy like, if you knew the story, and I don't know if you do or not, Michelle, of Nick Avani's.
I don't.
It started with a guy named Muhammad selling clothes out of his trunk.
Really?
Yeah. Then he eventually got the store called the Hip Hop Shop.
Okay.
On 6th in Wisconsin, and start, all the ballers and stuff started coming to him. But yeah, a dude, young, coming up in the city, selling clothes out of his trunk. Eventually it becomes Nick Avani's.
I think of Mark Wade, because Mark Wade selling them t-shirts. And
mm-hmm.
Mark and them was like, we was making the t-shirts at night and selling them in the morning,
mm-hmm.
Or over the course of the day or however that business. And then him having that kiosk in the middle of Capitol Court.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came here, I remember because I used to buy
mm-hmm.
the HBCU gear. I used to buy all of that from Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And before I even really fully knew who Mark was, I was buying from him. And I remember one time even messing with him like, Mark, why? Because I know you at some point had started doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you never go into a brick and mortar store? And Mark said, because I'm cutting off my money. And I was like, what you mean? He said, Michelle, as long as I'm outside in the center of the mall, I can catch everybody walking by.
Mm-hmm.
If I go into a brick and mortar, you got to come in and specifically be coming to see what I got.
And I think it changes your overhead too.
The obvious, right. You're not having to pay a kiosk versus a brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
But just that whole concept about being able to catch more business, he thought, being out there. And then anybody that knows Mark, you understand what this brother has become and a bunch of different moves that end up getting you to the place you are. I'm just saying, I've always appreciated the hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't shun it, and I don't ignore these kids and these young people when they out here making these moves. I just don't do it. Just like even the Nation of Islam, I buy that paper every time. I buy it every time. I mean, I'm not going to pass the brothers standing outside selling the final call and not buy it, because I understand that this is about self-empowerment. This is about people that's trying to figure out how to make a way for their own community.
I would buy the fruit. I didn't always get the paper, but I would get the fruit.
And like now I don't even get the fruit no more. You know, and I always like give some of them a hard time. Like, bruh, them 3 pieces of fruit for $1. I used to depend on that. When I was moving around on the weekend.
It was effective. It was healthy.
It was like the freshest fruit ever. It looked like it just been flown in from Venezuela. Like, where y'all get y'all fruit from? And so, but I always would buy the final call, because you're going to see stories in the final call that you don't see anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. If you've never read the final call, whether you ride, with the Muslim faith or not, you're going to see articles in there that the mainstream press are not covering, at the angle and in the lens that they're looking at it through, over with the reporters at the final call. So I always support them. So I'm going to get off my soapbox about this and move on to some other stories. But I just want to be able to say, y'all, when we see stuff happening in our community, it's not always what we think. And we get so high and mighty and, behind up on our shoulders. Well, my granddaddy used to say it a different way, but, you get your butt up on your shoulders because you this and you that, and you drive this and you live here and you move in these circles and I'm above this. I don't mess with them kids. I don't mess with them people. I do. I mess with all of them because I understand. And I got a healthy respect for people out here who are trying to figure it out. Let me take a break. Michelle Bryant, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. Be right back.
AM and 106.
Update people on his schedule. Um, I just gotta be honest, like going to even look him up irritates me because this man just incessantly says some of the most ignorant things that I have ever heard. Doubling down on, you know, the story about the Haitian immigrants, literally saying to someone, if I have to make up a story to make a point, then that's what I'm going to do. And the journalist that he was talking to at the time, like the look on her face was so incredulous. Like, did you just say that? And you saying it on TV? You know the cameras is on, right? Like, you literally just told people basically, if I have to lie to make my point, then that's what I'm going to do. So it's just real hard for me to like try to like encourage anybody to go and see a JD Vance. It just irks my whole soul. But let me I want to do two things. Staying with the RNC for or the Republicans for a moment because I was really intrigued, and I want to thank Rep Myers for sharing this story with me. She flagged it and brought it to my attention. So many people, if you think about history, there are names that you just know. You know, you hear Sojourner Truth. If you're of a certain age, education background, region of the country that you hail from, you know Sojourner. You know Harriet Tubman. You know Medgar Evers. You understand where I'm going, right? If you're here in Wisconsin, you know Val Phillips. You know Father Groppe. They're just names that you know. Ida B. Wells is one of those names. Ida B. Wells, who was from Bowling Farm, which is near Holly Springs, Mississippi, born in 1862, uh, is a person who was early in life known as someone who worked against segregation, who was all about civil rights, um, how she attended historically black college, Fisk University. She did, you know, a lot of work around anti-lynching. Ida B. Wells was like that sister, you know, when you think about her early career. She was an investigative journalist, an educator, and again, one of the early leaders in the civil rights movement. She was one of the founders of the NAACP. And I mean, think about that. Like, you a boss man. You at the table um, when there is the conversation about how do we create the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And Ida B. Wells is at the table talking about one of the main things that was impacting, you know, black people at the time, the whole issue of lynching. And so she was writing articles and creating pamphlets that were being distributed that talked about this whole, you know, like madness around lynching, and that lynchings weren't just happening in the South, but they were happening all across the country. And she was intent on making sure that people understood how black people were being impacted. So this woman was a boss. And if you think about papers today, like the Milwaukee Courier, the Milwaukee Times, it's three black papers, the Courier, Milwaukee Times, the Community Journal. When Ida B. Wells was alive and she was writing these independent columns, those articles would have appeared in a Courier, in a Community Journal, in the Milwaukee Times. The importance of having black press where you could, you know, get access to tell these stories that she was learning about all over the country. She was also huge in women's rights and the suffrage movement. So Ida B. Wells, by every account, was a boss. Okay. So it was interesting when Lakeisha, Dr. Meyer, shared with me. She said, "Did you see the article that was written by Michelle Duster?" And I was like, "Who is Michelle Duster?" And she was like, "That's Ida B. Wells' granddaughter." I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" Because there are names you just know. You know them when you hear them. And I was like, "No." So she said, "Yeah, she's actually a journalist herself after her grandmother. And she actually did an article. She went to both conventions. She went to the RNC and she went to the DNC and wrote articles talking about her experience. So the article that she wrote about attending the Republican National Convention, particularly because it was here in Milwaukee, and I'm like, oh my God, you mean to tell me Ida B. Wells' granddaughter was right down the street and I didn't know? I want to, like, I'm going to have to reach out to her because I want to talk to her because, number one, you related to a boss and I just got to know what that's like. So in the article, she starts off, "I went to Milwaukee July 18th and 19th to see for myself what the people and atmosphere were like at the Republican National Convention. After all, I'm a citizen, a writer, a voter, and an educator. I wanted to actually meet the folks who support a person who has spent the last 15 plus years insulting everything about my race and gender, my hometown, and my beliefs. As an African American, a woman, a Chicagoan, a public school alum, a person who believes in science, and a person who embraces racial, gender, and religious diversity, I am the most polar opposite of former President Donald Trump's focus and policies. For that reason, almost everyone who I told about my attending the RNC reacted with great concern and or horror. They vigorously cautioned me to be safe." Y'all remember, well, I told y'all I did not want to go to the RNC for a number of reasons. Didn't think it should have ever been here. Certainly didn't agree with the policies that I was about to hear. I'll tell everybody all the time, I'm not a journalist, so I'm not here to be necessarily fair and balanced and bring every side of a story because sometimes it's not my story. And I just so vehemently disagree. I'm not getting ready to tell your side of nonsense. I'm just not. And I know that. So I'm honest about who I am. But she, on the other hand, is a journalist and an educator. So, and I should say trained journalist. So even though I had slight concerns for my safety because of the pervasive white supremacy marches that are full of Trump supporters, I convinced myself that there would be enough security so that I would be okay. In order to fit into the MAGA crowd, I got myself a red hat with Jesus Christ stitched on the front and another one with the American flag motif to wear with the red shirt. And so they got pictures of her. And yep, and she's a light-skinned sister. So she got her Jesus Christ, red to signify the identification with Trump, the red shirt, and she goes on in. Once I maneuvered my way around the extensive security, I found myself in an environment that seemed like a gleeful family reunion. There was a sea of almost all white people, dressed in every combination of red, white, and blue, and sometimes gray attired emblazoned with the Trump or Make America Great Again. And in case people wanted more, there was a wide array of products for sale with slogans and or Trump's name or face. While hanging out in this party-like atmosphere, I went to all of the vendor booths and tables. I chatted with the folks from the Heritage Foundation, American Conservative Coalition, Concerned Women for America, Strive Investment Firm, and others to try and understand what they stood for and believed in. Even though no one would explain the basics of Project 2025, which I understood to be the blueprint for dismantling and overhauling our entire government, what I got out of the conversations was a quest to implement their version of a Christian nation that had little to no government regulation, low taxes, especially for the wealthy, very few immigrants, at least brown ones from the southern border, and of course, the never-ending, quote, tough on crime mantra. There were booths from everything from food to bobbleheads to cell phone carriers. I hung out with some folks from Wyoming who were more than happy to give me advice on places to visit in their state. I also listened to Donald Trump Jr. and others talk about hunting rights. At one table, a woman talked about the right to take public money to pay for private or home schools. Intertwined with these messages was a pervasive reference to the First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, guns, 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 including a cutout of Trump looking like his dream of being Rambo. There was a table selling Trump Bibles that included sections of the U.S. Constitution, Declaration of Independence, the Pledge of Allegiance, and another with a book of Trump poems, a collection of his tweets. In the midst of the anti-immigrant, anti-diversity, anti-non-Christian, pro-gun, anti-choice messaging, there were some interesting exhibits. C-SPAN had American Presidents' Life Portraits with images and information about all former presidents. Johnson and Murphy's Shoes of the Presidents exhibited showcase shoes from about a dozen former presidents. The Wisconsin Historical Society featured panels about the suffrage movement. Then, outside of these exhibits, was the one and only Georgia Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, during a signing of her MTG book. Although white people were in the extreme majority at the RNC, it was not all white. 3% of the delegates were Black. There were some Latinos, a handful of Native Americans, and some other people of color. But for the most part, it was a sea of whiteness. Everyone I interacted with was cordial, friendly, and polite. I had beer with the group, lunch with the group, and talked to a woman who was concerned about election integrity and proudly talked about how she was at the Capitol on January 6th. She was selling books of letters and artwork by those who were wrongfully imprisoned for their part in that day. I talked to another woman who was selling Trump gear, who explained how she goes around the country doing just that. She gave me a flyer about First Amendment Film Festival. One of the things that really struck and annoyed me was a Frederick Douglass Foundation booth. That's why I wanted to look at this article. One of the things that really struck and annoyed me was a Frederick Douglass Foundation booth with a huge cutout image of him. Since I am friends with the Douglass family, descendants, and have experienced having the name and image of my great-grandmother, Ida B. Wells, used by organizations without our family's permission, I was curious to know if the foundation had contacted the family. The woman I talked to, who was in incredible hurry to leave the booth, said they had no connection to or contact with the family. It's disingenuous and historically inaccurate to use the name and image of historical figures like Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, and my great-grandmother, especially without our permission from the families, to represent or to support today's Black Republicans. The same is true for organizations that exploit my ancestor as a Second Amendment advocate with no apparent regard to the lynching era she lived through. Either the willful ignorance or total disrespect for facts by people who use historical figures to promote causes that skew or defy the work the ancestors did is infuriating. It is time consuming and emotionally and financially exhausting trying to police every misuse. The fact is that the political parties have vastly changed from the 19th to the 21st centuries. People need to realize that the Democrats and Republicans basically switched in the 1960s as a result of the Southern strategy. The actual truth is that Douglass, my great-grandmother, and most of their contemporaries were enthusiastic about the Republican Party of Lincoln over a century ago, not today's party of Trump. Based on how they fought for racial and gender justice and equality, today's Democrats are in alignment with the work of the Black civil rights activists from the 19th and 20th centuries. Inside the Foster Forum, I hung out mostly in the press area, in the upper level, but I did make it down to the floor a few times in the midst of the pumped up atmosphere and the various speakers made their remarks. Among those I listened to, the overarching theme was Trump is a martyr who took a bullet for us all. This was a few days after his ear was grazed at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump has been persecuted by his enemies. Trump doesn't have to sacrifice himself to run the country, but is such a patriot that he's willing to do so. Illegal immigrants, meaning brown people coming over the southern border, are destroying our country. Trump is a nice guy who plays golf. Trump will lower grocery bills, gas bills, and taxes. Trump will make sure we will drill, baby, drill, and not have electric everything. Trump will get tough on crime, which I took to not include white collar crime, since Trump is a convicted felon who people proudly support. The American flag was everywhere, on everything, from capes to dresses to hats to pins to banners. Some wore the miniature pillow looking bandage on their ear, the same that Trump had on his ear. People happily and gleefully held up placards with the phrases, including mass deportation now. People sang and chanted and laughed and waved flags while pining for a United States that has never been a predominantly white, predominantly Christian, predominantly wealthy, predominantly male-run country. Yes, the folks who plundered this country were allegedly all of those things. But there have always been women who have done more than bear children, always been people of color. Remember, there were millions of Native Americans here first. There were 4 million enslaved people of African descent here when the Civil War ended in 1865. Entire swaths of the country were part of Mexico. So this is a fantasy of an all-white country. It's just that. I left the convention towards the end of the day during Kid Rock's performance when the crowd was getting hyped up before Trump's speech and started chanting, "Trump, Trump, fight, fight." As I made my way back home, I listened to Trump's 90-plus minute speech, minute acceptance speech, when he droned on about securing the border from dangerous migrants, cutting taxes, black jobs, and the late, great, fictional Hannibal Lecter. Even though the RNC was like an alternative universe for me, it was something important to experience. It made me wonder how people can come across as friendly and generous, yet gleefully hold up signs that advocate for millions of people to be deported, families destroyed, and the earth to be exploited. Per the speeches, these, quote, nice people are concerned about the price of groceries, gas, have the desire to feel safe, want good paying jobs, affordable housing, good schools that teach only what they want to hear, and many other things that most humans long for. The question I pondered was about who they were willing to erase, hurt, or oppress in order to get what they wanted for themselves. The pleasant demeanor, while focusing on themselves at the cruel expense of others, was the scariest part to me. That's the end of the article. But she did, in her piece, one of the things that I have been trying to talk about for years on this station. The idea that people conjure up this imaginary existence of, everything was great. We want to go back. We want to make America great again. And as people say, and what period of time is that exactly? What and who was it great for? And what does great look like? Great when Black people couldn't buy housing fairly and were redlined out of neighborhoods, and there were deeds to properties that said this property can't be sold to Black people. Many of these covenants, which are still in existence today, and there have now been legislators all over the country working to try to get those passages removed from deeds because it's still in there. Like, but you smile and you're friendly and, hey, let's have a beer and we can actually break bread together. But I want you gone. Or I want you in a box. I want you over here. I want you in your place. And yes, I want private money to pay for public. I want public money to pay for a private opportunity for my child not to have to go to school with your child. But I want you to pay for it because Mexico is going to pay for the border wall. We keeping y'all out and y'all going to pay for it. She did a masterful job of for me, framing the juxtaposition of people who don't have a clue as you sell Bibles that have been altered by Donald Trump. Why would you buy a Bible that's been altered and is the Trump Bible? Why would you do that? But then red, white, and blue is on display everywhere. Freedom, symbols of democracy, but only for certain people. Only for certain groups. At the expense of everyone else. But it's the same question. The question I asked about moving the mobile drug dealing from one block to the next block to the next block. At least I can come out the house and be okay. The people on 38th where I pushed it to, they're going to have to come out the house and fight for themselves. Somebody wanted to know where was the article. It was in a publication called Rebellious, magazine for women. And it's online. So the magazine is called Rebellious Magazine for Women. But also the idea that Ida B. Wells, who was moving around this country in the late 1800s, mid 1800s, one of the co-founders of NAACP, her great-granddaughter, in many ways talking about the same issues that her great-grandmother was talking about in 2024. And that now laws that were in place to protect Black folks are now being used to strip Black folks of certain rights and access and opportunity. That literally the laws and the rules that the NAACP fought for and different organizations helped to put in place, those very same laws are now being used against Blacks to create this America that only seems to benefit certain people. I got to take a break. I know that was a long article, but how often do we get to hear from the great-great-granddaughter of Ida B. Wells, yet alone that she was in our city writing about the RNC? I'll be right back.
Join the Wisconsin Black Chamber of Commerce every third Thursday at 10 a.m. inside Community Voice with Keith Paris for the Black Chamber Moment. Tune in as we discuss business, networking, and money as we make Black people the largest employer of Black people here on 860 WNOV and 106.5 FM.
Republican Senate candidate Eric Hovde has a way with words. And if you listen closely, you can hear what he actually thinks of us.
I'm a proud child of a single mom, but Eric Hovde says if you have a single mother, you're on the road to poverty.
That's right. Eric Hovde thinks if you have a single mom, you're going to be poor or a drug addict.
That is a direct path to a life of poverty. It leads to higher drug rates.
That just shows Eric Hovde is ignorant. I mean, what's wrong with this guy?
But Democrat Tammy Baldwin has always fought for us. Tammy was raised by her grandparents, so she understands that not all families look the same. And Tammy's gotten things done. She wrote the law that lets kids stay on their parents' health care until they're 26. She capped the cost of insulin and inhalers at $35 a month. And Tammy Baldwin's taking on greedy corporations to bring down the cost of gas and groceries. While Eric Hovde's busy looking down on us, Tammy Baldwin's getting the job done.
I'm Tammy Baldwin running for Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Tammy Baldwin for Senate.
Over 10 million illegals have entered America during Kamala Harris's reign as the border czar.
Border czar.
Border czar.
Border czar.
And when questioned on the NBC Nightly News,
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't.
criminal aliens murdering Americans, cartels trafficking poison, benefits for illegals. Kamala Harris is no laughing matter. Right for America, paid for and is responsible for the content of this ad.
Tickets for the 24th Annual Freedom Fund Dinner are now available. And this year, we're all in and ready to celebrate the 100th anniversary of your Milwaukee NAACP. The dinner will be held Friday, October 18th at the Barrett Center, 400 West Kilbourne Avenue. Social hour at 5 p.m., dinner at 6:30 p.m. So join us as our guest speaker will be the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, the United States House of Representatives Minority Leader, who is the youngest and first person of color in this role. You can call the Milwaukee branch office for more information at 414-562-1000. We're all in and ready to celebrate 100 years of service.
More than 270, more than enough to become the 44th President of the United States. He will be the first African-American President of the United States.
I've been broke all my life, but I kept hope all them nights. You see business in my city? Yeah, they closed all them twice. I was just riding down Salem, all them damn potholes. I can't drive. I know y'all can fix it faster, but I know y'all won't try. Don't nobody care about us. And that's wrong vote. Voted for Obama back in 2012. I remember that's when I had hope. He was saying, yes, we can. And everybody got less food stamps. And when I turned 21, I was still broke. I'd never vote again. I don't think I ever had a president make my life better. Did it all on my own. Ain't no politician ever do a nice gesture. I don't even know the mayor's name. I ain't never seen her one time ever. Tell me how she gonna help the city. What I'm supposed to do, write letters? What I'm supposed to do, blame Trump? He ain't never really gave a ain't nobody raised minimum wage. None of these jobs pay enough. I think they just want to keep us broke, cause they ain't putting none in place for us. This how all my people feel, but we gotta learn. We complained enough, let me change it up. Everything I just said, everybody I know think the same way. See, they don't want to see us vote, and we never do, so we see the same thing. But all our votes really do count, and they'll never really let it show. So now I'm finna break it down, cause if I don't, you would probably never know. First thing first, you know back in middle school when they taught us, it was 3 branches of the government. We forgot it when we got older. It's the judicial, the legislative, and executive. But all we know is the executive. That's the mayor or the governor and the president. Now none of them 3 people make no laws. They just be checking them. The laws come to their desk and all they do is say no or yes to it. So when the news station tried to tell us that Barack Obama couldn't put us on, we was all salty at Obama when it was the Congress members all along. We gotta focus on the legislative branch. Yeah, they the ones that make the laws. Yeah, they the ones write how much food stamp money you get on the card. But when people that wanted to help us wanted the job, I know they probably lost. Cause we ain't even know their name, we ain't know their face, we ain't know it all. So the Congress or the State House, that's legislative, they make laws. So what we want from the president is what they do. Okay, y'all? See, they election every 2 years, but we don't ever even go to those. The Congress, they can raise minimum wage, but we ain't even really know it though. So you know how back in 08, when we all voted for Obama, we was all supposed to go back in 2010 and vote for the Congress. Cause they the ones make child support laws. They the ones choose if your kids at school get to eat steak or corn dogs. The State House make the court calls. So if the country failed, then you can't say it's them, it's your fault. Cause y'all ain't know to vote for Congress members that was for y'all. And they don't gotta leave after 4 years, and we just let them sit. See, they don't want to tell you this, they want you to focus on the president. Now the third branch is the judicial, that's judges. They the reason why John Crawford and Trayvon, they had justice. So when Meek Mill got locked up just for popping willies, we blame the judge and not the city when they let her get voted in, cause they ain't know who to vote against. Imagine life on the other side. Roads better, schools better, everybody get their license back, grocery store food better, custody of your kids back, homeless people get new shelters. If we gon' fix the U.S., we gotta start with them 2 letters, me and you. Somebody told us that the government wanna keep us broke, but the only reason why those people in the government is cause we ain't vote. And I ain't talking about the president, I'm talking about the ones we ain't know. See, they was gonna try to keep it low, but it's gonna hurt them when they see the pros.
Every time you stay home, someone is making a decision about you, making decisions about the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food your kids eat, and how much money you bring home every 2 weeks. So every time you sit out an election, every time you don't show up because you think it doesn't matter, someone else is happy that you didn't show up, so they can make that decision for you. Vote.
All right, family. So that is one of my favorite videos by a rapper by the name of Yellow Pain. You can see it on YouTube. It is something that I use when I do discussions on civic engagement. I've played it before on this show. I think it is a critical tool in helping people put some, and caller, I'll be right there, to put some of just the most basics together. I talked about yesterday being National Voter Registration Day. They also have something known as National Black Voter Day. Black voters make up 12% of the electorate in 2020, okay, just 4 years ago, and have the power to dramatically shift the direction of this country. So there have been campaigns that have talked about bringing together more than 40 civil rights organizations to promote Black voter participation. The idea that we as a collective can make a difference, but we have to be in the game, y'all. So as we are now less than 50 days away from the election, you'll hear these kinds of reminders for us to exercise our power. Again, I think about Ida B. Wells and the work that was done to even start the NAACP, co-founding that along with another group of like-minded people who said, I know things can be better for our community, for Black folks. We can advance the goals, agendas, opportunities, access for Black folks. And they left it to us. They left it to us to keep up the work. What we doing? They left it to us. They put the foundational stuff in place. They created the HBCUs. These people don't want to educate y'all. We're going to make sure you get educated. They left tools. They left, a roadmap. Now, there are ways to improve it, to build on it, but they started us. We got to show up for these folks, man. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
I'm showing up.
My man. My man. I love that. You know what? That needs to be a t-shirt. I'm showing up. Let me write this down. Hey, George, how you doing this morning?
Can I get some of them percentages?
Yeah, you can get some. Since it was just your saying, I cut you in on it.
Michelle, thank you for playing that. You and Debo playing that song. Y'all need to every 15 minutes, wherever y'all go on commercial break, play that song, Michelle.
It said a lot.
When my grandkids rolling in the car, because that's what they listen to is that rap music.
Right.
Rap.
Yeah.
So y'all keep on playing that, especially Zamir. He'll pick up on that real quick. Michelle, I know so many women, and I don't know what the percentage is, that either can't have kids or don't want to have kids. So I don't know if you saw what Sarah Huckabee.
Yeah, I heard what she said. Sarah Huckabee.
Suckleby.
Yeah.
Suckleby. Let's say it right.
Yeah.
What's wrong with them? I don't understand. Are they trying to lose? That they're trying to. These women, are they trying not to have them vote for them? Especially the ones that probably can have kids. That's gotta hurt. And you seeing stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, and for folks that are not clear on what George is talking about. Yep, thank you, bro. I appreciate it. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders took a hit at Kamala Harris not being a biological parent. In a speech she was giving, some remarks she said about how her children keep her grounded, and that Kamala Harris doesn't basically have anybody at home to keep her grounded. No, keep her humble. That was the word she used. That her kids kept her humble. And, Kamala Harris doesn't have anyone to keep her humble. So she probably was getting a big head going into all of these little rallies where people were cheering for her and, adoring her and supporting her and calling her name. And basically don't believe your own headlines, chick. My kids keep me humble. And it was interesting because on CNN this morning, they made reference to this jab that Sarah Huckabee Sanders took at Kamala, and one of the commentators, that's why CNN grates my teeth. I swear to God, I really can't stand CNN most of the time because they always got somebody on there that's a smart aleck. And so the person said, well, yeah, my kids do keep me humble and da-da-da. And the person said, that's not the point. The point is not whether or not children keep their parents humble. The point is somebody taking a jab at somebody and saying that because they are childless, they're not whole. They're not, fully in tune. They're not capable of understanding issues. That's the point, idiot. It's not about whether or not your child keeps you humble. That's not the point. And But what did I say with Ida B. Wells? Ida B. Wells was out there during the suffrage movement, trying to make sure that women had equal rights in this country. And we know that there was this period of time when the major suffragist movements were happening. Black women showed up. They marched. White women asked them to march at the back of the line, giving preferential treatment even to white women that were here from other countries that were participating in the march. And Black women was like, you ain't talking to me. You're not talking to me. And to my pride, members of Delta Sigma Theta and Alpha Kappa Alpha was like, oh, well, honey, we at the front of the line with everybody else. You're not talking to me. But the one thing that Black women understood was that when those rights were granted, we weren't the beneficiaries, the direct beneficiaries of it. We weren't. It would not be until 1965 that Black women in my lifetime fully got the right to vote unfettered everywhere in this country. Now, there are examples of in this country, in this city, in this state, you may be able to vote on the school board, or you may be able to vote over here. But if you show up to vote, somebody going to try to, figure out a way to block you, threaten you, intimidate you to keep you from coming. So there have always been white women who have seen themselves differently from Black women. Not all, of course, but there have been folks that didn't see us linked in any way. So when Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who you let Donald Trump, because see, now she back to saying Sarah Huckabee Sanders. When you see her name now, it says Governor Huckabee Sanders. But this the same chick whose uncle did not get along, or family member did not get along with Donald Trump. And so she stopped using the Huckabee name, which is her family name, so as not to rub Donald Trump the wrong way. So if you somebody who don't even value think about that, while you trying to talk about the humbleness of family, but when your family name became a problem for you at work, all of a sudden she became Sarah Sanders. Go back and Google it. You can look it up. She stopped using the Huckabee name, which she had parlayed, leaned on to get her access and to get in certain rooms, because they understood that was Mike Huckabee's family. She leaned on that. But when the family name was a liability with Donald Trump, she threw that family name to the wayside. So this who gonna talk to Kamala Harris about family? Like, somebody needed to be able to say that at CNN. This the same chick who dissed her family name, Miss Humble, when Donald Trump didn't like it. I wish somebody would tell me I couldn't use my family name, or somebody has something slick to say about Bryant. While it is a slave name, I appreciate that aspect of it. But I wish you would. Well, I'm really offended by, your grandfather, Peter Bryant, and blah, blah, blah. What? Because I don't have my daddy's last name. I got my granddaddy's name. Because there were no boys. My grandfather, with his marriage to my grandmother, who died after their third child from epilepsy, so she died very, very young. My grandfather never remarried. So the kids that actually had that Bryant name, he only had 3 daughters. So their children, we got the Bryant name to keep the name going, because that's how strongly people felt about it. So me and my brother are Bryants. We don't have our dad's last name. So let somebody come tell me, well, Michelle, I got a problem with your granddaddy and and I'm going to stop using Bryant because you got a problem. Boy, please. Now I can do the Kamala Harris look from the debate. Mother, what? Now I got that look. But see, couldn't nobody say that at the table at CNN while she's standing up here leaning on children. Well, evidently, family ain't that important to you, because you was willing to sell your soul to the devil for acceptance and a position. So yes, George, I understand the frustration. I understand, people just being completely bent out of shape. But back to the point that I'm making, about this is why it's so important that we show up. This is why it's so important that we show up. When I mentioned National Black Voter Day, a couple of things real quick. So where is it? Because I got oh my God, all these messages have not been read. Okay, so Black Voter Registration Day is Friday. And there's a group that is going to be over at the Sherman grocery store, which is over on Fond du Lac from noon to 3. And they are doing a fish fry. And Rainbow Push is actually coming in town this weekend. Jesse Jackson and Judge Mathis to talk to Black voters, people about making sure they turn out. I'm going to get more details about it in terms of the fish fry and what's going on over there. But they are encouraging people, if you are not a registered voter, stop by the Sherman Park. What is it called? Sherman Park Grocery? Let me look and see what it's called. And I'll get the address real quick. Yep, Sherman Park Grocery Store, Black-owned grocery store, 4315 West Fond du Lac Avenue. Black Voter Registration Day. One of the things that we need to understand, this day is about equipping Black voters with the tools they need to protect their vote. Not just to vote, but to protect the vote. Also, how we leverage the energy to deal with systemic racism and to create the change that we want to see. You got to be willing to appreciate that this has always been a fight, and whether or not people like it. And I've had people who said some slick stuff to me about, Michelle, must you always talk about race? Must you? Hell yes, I must. Yes, I must. I must. Because we impact it every single day. All day. Every day. And we have to keep it at the forefront of people's minds, because we get comfortable. We get lax. We get complacent. Things are actually going well for me right now. In the meantime, we look around and we got other things falling apart. So yes, I pay attention to issues connected to race, and I talk about them. We've got to be able to understand what Black voter suppression is, how we have been targeted as a community, how, Donald Trump, we can never forget that after the 2020 election, Donald Trump rode in with his merry band of idiot lawyers to try to figure out if they could steal the votes of Black voters in the city of Milwaukee. That they were very specific and very targeted. There is voter fraud in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. The election outcome and results were changed because of people that were dishonest and deceptive in Milwaukee. Because where do the majority of Black people in the state of Wisconsin live? In Milwaukee. So for the folks that, get uncomfortable, can't we talk about something else? You go anywhere else you want to and talk about whatever you want to. This is what I'm on. And this is what I'm going to be on. Because somebody got to keep ringing the bell. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle. I just called to say I'm showing up too.
Good morning. Oh, you said I'm showing up too? I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Celise.
Yeah, I can't wait for the t-shirt.
Yeah. We're going to work on that. Thank you, sis. Okay. I appreciate it. All right. You know what? I like that. So let's do that this week. If you showing up.
Michelle, I'm showing up too. Kyrie, you showing up? Oh, Kyrie got a mic over there now. It don't work, but it's over there.
He drinking his tea like a little old lady with his long johns on. He drinking his tea. It's like he said he's showing up though. If you showing up, if you voting all week, call me and let me know. You ain't gotta say nothing else. Just I'm showing up. If you text me 414-499-2827, and I mean even my friends who I know you vote, text me anyway. Call me, hit me up with the line. I'm showing up. I just want to hear it. Let's
do the NOV challenge.
What's the NOV challenge? What should we make the NOV challenge? What should we call it? What should we do?
I think we should do a registration drive and challenge our listeners to bring in at least 5 people to get registered to vote.
5 people can be a lot.
Okay, but I mean, what? Not more than one though. We really want to have an impact.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm, hey, the phone is ringing. I'm showing up.
Showing up.
Me and my first time voters showing up.
That's what
I'm showing up. I already got 3 in just a second that I looked up to say something to you.
Right.
I love that idea. And I'm gonna say this. Like while we can say, and grab the caller. Let's see what they want real quick. Hey, caller, what's happening? I don't want time to run out. Hey.
Hi, yes, Michelle. Quick call. I know you're short on time, dear, but I just want to add what you're talking about the Donald Trump and the GOP during the election period.
Yes.
Did you hear where Donald Trump gave the Nazi Republicans orders to send people to the polls to poll watch in certain states like Wisconsin to intimidate us?
Right.
They haven't learned their lessons yet. They've been trying to forever to send poll watchers to intimidate us voters. They can come, but they may not go back home. That's all I got to say. But I just wondered, did you hear about Trump ordering them to send poll watchers to our state, Michigan, and other states like that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, JT, for the call. I appreciate it. Yep. And I have talked about y'all killing me. My phone is on hum. I'm showing up and showing out. I'm showing up. I'm showing up. In thought I'll be at work, but I'm showing up. Miss B. Oh my God, I am just loving it. Yes, JT, I did talk about that previously, that we saw trial or test runs in the special elections that we just had. We saw them over in Glendale, where they were poll watchers and observers, but we know sent there on a mission of intimidation. Let's go to the phone line real quick. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Great Wednesday morning. I'm showing up.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Got another caller on the line. Hey, caller, what's happening? Hello? All right, let's go to the next one. Hey, caller, what's happening? What's going on? I wonder why we can't hear. Hey, caller. Okay, they're trying to call back again. Let's see if we can get him in. Hey, caller, what's happening?
I'm showing up.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Got another call. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Michelle, it's been again. You're right. You have to stay on top of registration because the other day, I had called. You were in Washington, but anyway, Ms. Myers' office, Representative Myers, they made sure they called me back and I got re-registered because I hadn't been receiving my ballots in the mail. But I know now to stay on top of it.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody else just text. What did they say? I saw something about my husband. Hold on. Good morning. My husband and I are showing up. I have been voting since I turned 18. Hang on. Where to go? The messages is coming in. I've been voting since I turned 18 and I will continue to do so until I can. All right. Let's go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning. This is Brother Prince Riley. Me and my wife are showing up, going out, and I'm buying water from every child I see selling water. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Got another caller. Hey, caller, what's happening? Good morning.
Good morning. I was listening to you this morning, and I want to make a couple points.
Okay.
Point one is we're telling people to bring people, get people ready, push them to vote.
Yes.
In the push, we should always try to follow all the way through and get them to early vote to have the thing already done. And you're speaking about poll watchers trying to intimidate. The last 2 times I voted, when I went in, I saw some people sitting around, and I asked the poll workers, were those poll watchers? Because when I see them, I'm going to go directly to them and ask them, are they security? And y'all have a good one.
All right. Thank you, caller. I appreciate it. Got one more caller. Let me get them in. Hey, caller, what's happening? Hello? All right. I don't know what's going on with that line. Somebody else said good morning. My husband and I are showing up. I adore y'all. Oh my God. I love this community. And there's still more people on. Can I go to the phone line? Oh, let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller. Debo, what's something going on with that line?
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm showing up, and what I would like to say, a large group of people that we should be after are teenagers, those 18 and up. Every family has a group of them, so let's go after them and inform them and get them to the polls.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just got hit up by Charles Mitchell. I'm showing up. Good morning. Good morning. So, yes, Debo, we're going to have to work it out, figure out how we're going to do this. But I love it. And the fact that so many people responded right away. Yeah, we're going to have to do something. All right. Am I taking a break or am I done?
You done, but we got the fish fry here. I bring the grill. We do hot dogs. I mean, I don't know. We can make it a thing.
We're gonna have to do something.
We could take over the park over there. We need to do something as a station.
Okay, we gonna figure it out. We're gonna get it done. Family, I'm just letting y'all know we're gonna have the I'm showing up event, but keep it coming.
But you gotta get the shirts first.
I gotta get some shirts. I gotta find some shirts. Okay, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm showing up and to lock 45 up. Oh, okay. Hang on. Before I go, let me see, JC. I'm showing up and to lock 45 up. Fight.
Fight.
Marquette Baylor. I'm showing up. My girl. All right, family. And the phone lines is full. Y'all, I'm sorry. I gotta go. That's a wrap for my show. I will be back on today at 3:00 for the midweek flow. I appreciate y'all. Oh my God. And yes, sir, we showing up. I'll talk to y'all later. Thank y'all, Debo. Thank you, Carvey. Peace, family.